I can say it without a microphone. So we are moving on, and our next speaker will be Carmen Delgado. Please.
Thank you. Is this working? Kind of, yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here after the coffee break. Some disclosure who I am. I'm Carmen Delgado. I have like 3 main roles lately. The first one is I've been working for Eclipse Foundation since 3 years ago as a program manager of the Adoption Working Group, which is running one of the Java programs. I'm mentor organizer of a volunteer program for women in tech that are career shifter. It's called Step Forward. And my hardest and more important role is that I'm a mom since 2 years ago. And I have learned a lot of stakeholder management with that role. I have Venezuelan and Spanish, hence my accent. And you can find me everywhere using this handle, LinkedIn, Twitter, Blue Sky, Mastodon, GitHub, wherever I did my homework, and you have everything there. So we had a coffee break. This is the 3rd session. I will make you suffer. We all need to stand up and stretch. It's early morning, it's a cold morning. At least for me, it's cold because I came from Spain, so stretch a bit, or you can do it in your chair. I know this is a hard audience, believe me, I do it. It's necessary. It has been 2 hours already. I want to see all of you stretching. It's just a bit. Okay, thank you. I was thinking, these people will follow me with the stretching. I know you did. I'm really grateful of that. I'm really grateful, so I'm not so stiff right now. So this is agenda. Another disclaimer, I'm very boomer with my presentations, so I load a lot of text. I follow like PowerPoint slides. I studied in university like 25 years ago, so I really like to have a lot of information, so you can take pictures of what I'm saying. Don't listen to me, follow the images, so I can do whatever I want while talking. So this is more or less the agenda, and the goal of this presentation is to explain what is the Eclipse Foundation role and what is my role, because you will see that the project is already real successful. Some terminology, how many of you are backend developers, Java users, etc., etc. So you will need to teach me about this. I will go very fast through this. What is the JVM? It's the virtual machine that allows you to run any Java programs. What is the JRE? Is what that includes the Java virtual machine and the libraries. What is the JDK? It's a comprehensive software for development, and this is where the party starts. What is OpenJDK? Is the open source distribution of the JDK, and what are OpenJDK binaries? Are the builds that depends on the upstream project, which is OpenJDK, which is the open source version of the Oracle Java version. And what are JDK providers? All the vendors that provide all these OpenJDK binaries. Actually, how it works, the ecosystem, is once the early tags are released on the OpenJDK, all the programs can copy that release and start all the tags and start releasing their own versions. But it's basically following the same ecosystem. So these are some of the distributors. I'm representing Adoption, which their runtime is Temurin. It's not Adoption, but it's all the other old ones. There are like 10, 12. Oracle with both the Java paid version and OpenJDK, Amazon Corretto, Azul Zulu, which you will have a talk about from Azul in the afternoon. Balsoft, all the Linux distribution. Microsoft have their own builds in OpenJDK, Red Hat, SAP, and Alibaba, Huawei, etc. So, and a lot of distributors have their own build, but it's not a public distribution as this one. So you have a homework. You need to check on your machines, go to your console and terminal, and check which Java version are you using. Because some of you might know what are you using. Some of you choose that for your personal project, but some of you already following whatever your organization told you, this is the distribution we're using, and let's run on that. And many of you are not aware, like, are we using Temurin? But if you're using dash term or Temurin dash, you're using us. So thank you for being a supporter. But if you're using OpenJDK, which is already, you will see it's part of the community, please migrate to Temurin, because all the updates are coming through to Temurin and not to OpenJDK. So adoption what? You already learned, I already told you that adoption is not the runtime. And you will see what is adoption. And this is an important part. Actually, I have a question just 5 minutes before starting my talk. Like, is this talk about Eclipse IDE? How many of you know Eclipse IDE? Nice. How many of you are using Eclipse IDE? None. You're using, because you're a student, so maybe you're forced to. But Eclipse Foundation, Eclipse Foundation is more than an IDE. It started for the IDE 21 years ago, but actually right now it's running 420 projects with more than 2,000 committers, and this is one of those 420 projects. And actually there are 21 working groups, and this is one of those 21 working groups. So actually the history of this OpenJDK distribution started way before joining Eclipse Foundation. It started in 2027 when IBM get OpenJDK to the adoption group in London, and they started to build this first open source solution after the OpenJDK, completely open source, community-driven solution, and they started to grow so fast and get some interest from the community that at 2019 they started to have 30 million community downloads and 23 sponsors. And when they saw that, they realized that it needed like a more consolidated structure behind, and that's why they negotiated to bring that project to Eclipse Foundation. That was all 2020, and the first release under the new governance, the new branding, they decided to split, to don't have the same situation as Eclipse IDE and Eclipse Foundation. They created this new Temurin branding, which is the acronym of runtime, and then the adoption project and adoption working group, that I will explain later what it is. Since 2022, we have seen a growth in the downloads by 250 million cumulative downloads per year. It's a lot of downloads. And if you just sum up everything that OpenJDK already did, we are over 1.3 thousand of millions of downloads, cumulative downloads, which you can imagine is a lot of things to maintain to get all those downloads. And the most important thing is that I joined them 3 years ago as their community manager, and since last year I'm officially their program manager, the same roles, different title. I'm doing the same. So again, why Eclipse Foundation? As I say, Eclipse Foundation is not only the IDE, they have a proven track history of 21 years running a lot of projects, long-term support, consistent stewardship, which is the important part of when you're running an open source project. Like, the community should dedicate all their efforts on the technical part, like be aware and have like completely focus on the technical part and leave all the governance, processes, licensing, marketing, like all that stuff that is a lot of overhead and completely out of the scope to people that is there to support you. That's why Eclipse Foundation has a lot of processes. Actually, all of them are easily readable at eclipse.org, but there are a lot of processes already implemented. They keep vendor neutrality. What that means is that if in the same level of membership, strategy, you will see who are our strategy members. They have the same voting right in the table, and that's nice because you can see a startup that is a strategy member deciding the future of our working group together with IBM, Red Hat, Microsoft, etc. So it's completely vendor neutrality. It depends on your level of membership, and if you are there part of the governance, your voice will be heard. It's member-driven. All the annual plans actually. We're trying to close 2026 annual plan. We started kind of mid-September, and it's hard time for me, a lot of negotiation and also traveling, and it's a member-driven decision. The members decide the future of each working group on the Eclipse Foundation, and that's a work we do every year in Q3, Q4 time. It's a strong governance and proven sustainability, and we're going to talk about that sustainability, especially for our project. So I already say, adoption is both the working group and the top-level project is like the house of all the projects for open source Java solutions, but it's not a project itself. So all the projects have their own entity, and they're under the house of adoption. So what our projects are? We have, of course, Temurin, and that's why people come to our website and know about us and Google us and actually ask ChatGPT about us. The third source is ChatGPT. It's a runtime binaries, OpenJDK, TCK certified. That means that it's certified against a upstream source and Oracle Java. It's Aquabit verified, which is, you will see what is Aquabit, high performance. You will see we have all the versions, all the platforms, like whatever you need is there, and it's fully open source. I'm not talking like we are the best. It's just like to show you how committed the tech team is and the project committee is to the project to give whatever the users needs and to be compliant wherever what is needed in the ecosystem. Then when I'm talking about Aquabit verification, that is also another project. It's an open source project that if you're building your own OpenJDK, you can use that project on your own. It's completely detached and free of charge to be used. But it's a quality verification that the community created to run every time that they do a release. It runs millions of tests, and it's to secure security, durability, scalability, performance. And actually, if they don't pass those tests, they don't release that build. And I think since 2 releases ago, there is a build that they always end to the release announcement, like we're not releasing this build because we're having some quality issues. So, and you can check on where are the quality issues. Everything is open and transparent, and they communicate. The working group also inherited the emission control project, which is also an old Java project, but it's very useful. A lot of enterprise users use that project. We have the migration toolkit, which was donated by Alibaba, and what it helps you, especially for enterprise users, which are still in Java 8, and we don't know why, they need to help them to go and migrate to Java 11, Java 19, and they're working on Java 21, and so they jump from LTS to LTS through the migration toolkit. And there is also a marketplace, as we're not only supporting our own OpenJDK distribution, we are supporting other 5 OpenJDK distributions. If you are a member of the working group, your distribution can be listed there, and it's accessible to our community. Again, so some numbers. Every time we do a CPU release, for those that are Java users are familiar with all the releases we have, is one every quarter. They need to maintain 58 builds. Again, a lot of work. I already talked about the cumulative downloads. This is an important for enterprise user. We're SASA level compliant for all the main platforms, which is Linux, Mac OS, and Windows, and they're working to get all that in the secondary platforms. We have SIF vendor under the marketplace. Last year, the community worked thanks to 10 different contributors, and this year, at the end of last month, we were 85 committed authors. We have 12 members as part of our governance. And yes, I already said that if you sum up both the OpenJDK distribution with the cumulative Temurin is above 1.3 billion of downloads. So why we have so many users? Because we're at the default setting in a lot of places that you might not be aware of. We're at the default setting in GitHub Actions. We're at the default setting in Jenkins Images. We are at the top recommended version for Google Clouds, and we are at the top recommended version for Atlassian Jira Server. This is again to support open source ecosystem, but this again implies that a lot of effort from the community to keep in that level of prime using of our software. Again, the main core of why we have grown so much since 2022 is because we have the OpenJDK version, which is free of charge. I have another talk about the difference between free of charge and cost-free. We are TCK certified against the main Java distribution. We already talked about our Aquabit verification, doctor supports, all the secure supply chain work. The community is compliant with whatever you call it. It's compliant with those, like everything. on all the Java versions in Java 8 and all the platforms you have. And I need to say that some of the platforms I be here thanks to a sponsorship. There is a company that is supporting that specific platform. So if you are an enterprise user and you really need to keep having a specific platform, especially the old ones, you can contact us and help us to support those platforms like Windows, x32, Solaris, ARM, those kind of well-known, all-used platform. Okay, I wanted to have a special slide for Aquabit verification because some of the developers are not aware of it until you need to use it. And every time the dev community like really understand what this project is doing, they mind blown, like, what are you talking about? How are you running so many tests? How do you do that like with this release? So it's a tool and infrastructure that run tests and analyze everything before being released, and it generates a lot of reports, highlight alerts, everything that the team needs to go back to those, and they're automating this process as much as possible. And it's like a very important verification, not only for this project, also for the entire ecosystem. It's also used by Fujitsu, as they have their own build for all the system. It's used by Canonical, like a lot of other ecosystems are using this. And another thing we have is also an independent project, which is open source licensing, and you can use that to try on your machines and to own builds, and you can share that with the community that you're using that, and they're open to it. All the secure supply chain work, we are aware that we have big users, enterprise users, governments, like big institutions that really need to be secure, and also all the problems that happen around the secure supply, especially with the CRA comment, et cetera, et cetera. So as I say, they are compliant with whatever is there, like they need to be conformal and compliant. It's more or less, it's not kind of difficult because it's more or less the same work that they need to follow. So they are compliant with everything. And actually last year they created this case study where you can find how they plan all their work and how they develop all this secure supply chain development team, how they decided which tool to implement, how to do it, and what are the steps, the phases, the stages, like everything is there. It's a very good read, even so if you're not so technical and not into the secure development part, it's very interesting to understand how an open source community make those security decisions. We are supported by two groups of entities. One is all the members, and these members are part of our governance. The strategic members, all of them have a seat in the table and a voting right, and enterprise members and participant members, they need to choose a representative, but in our case, as a working group, we allow them to be in all the meetings. It's just that the final voting needs to go through their representative. And as you can see, in the same strategy level, you have Azul and Reebok together with Google, IBM, and Alibaba. So that means that all of them have the same right, the same votes, the same voice, and all of them together decide the future of the ecosystem. And you even have, as a Java user group, you can be part of our government. And we are really looking to hear from our users, so we are always working in Java user groups. Then we have renamed the sponsors as sustainers. I will explain that why later. And as a sponsor, we have two types of sponsorship. It could be either financial sponsorship, as I say, that they support a specific, especially to support a specific build, but there are ways that the ecosystem the clients need a specific old build that it needs to be maintained, so that they give that support, or in-kind sponsorship, as I will show you how many infrastructure do we need. So everything we need, all the servers we try to apply to the nonprofit program. And actually, I have two more sponsors that it should be there because we apply this month. Some of our non-users, if you're a user, this is an easy way to support an open source project. You only need to list your company here, add your logo, it's free of charge. I won't ask you for everything. You don't need to be a Eclipse Foundation member. You don't need to be part of the ecosystem. You don't need to be anything. Just apply to submit your logo, and Maybe I will guide you through GitHub or through Slack. Hey, I saw you're an adopter. Thank you. So how are you using us? Because one thing the community wants to hear is about how the enterprise users, all the companies of the project are using them to understand what are the market needs and what it needs to be next in the program and in the pipeline, which I will speak later. We don't have a way to follow our downloads because we are an open source, GDPR, etc. So that's why we have this program. We know we have been using for hundreds or thousands of companies. We only have 30 plus something right now, and I'm trying to get more. So please, if you're using us, this is a free, easy way to support open source. So what we do every year that we spend 2 months negotiating and deciding are the working group's goals. And what are those? We define every year 4 pillars of what is the focus for next year. We know it's an open source project. We know it's a community driven. We know that we accept every support, whatever people wants to do is very open to them. Like you can choose whatever part of the project, whatever pillar, you're welcome to be part of the ecosystem. But it's important to have a plan, to have lights in the path to show the community what are we looking for next year. So the first pillar, actually 2026 pillar as the goals are the same as 2025. They just added a comma, but they changed the definition. Like Vibrant has 3 projects. That means that we are open to receive anyone. We have a clear path to contribute. We have interesting projects to share. We have all the tools you need, all the accesses you need, and all the funding you need to work on your projects. And we're welcome to everyone to be part of our projects. Premier product positioning, you already saw that we are the default, we're the default for a lot of distribution, a lot of tools, a lot of programs. We have millions of Kubernetes download, so we need to continue, keep that positioning. So that means that we have a lot of requests and a lot of pressure for the market on to be there, how to be there, and how to maintain that positioning. We need to follow what the market needs, what our user needs, and how they need it. Secure software, that's a full goal because of all the security issues we have had from the past year and how important security is. And actually, it's a full team of secure software development. They have their own community calls, they have their own team, their own dashboard, they have their own plan, their own everything. And then advanced development, this is like the nice friend to have, is everything you want to test, to try AI, like everyone is testing AI on their projects. So this is the part where the team wants to implement all the R&D around AI, automation, etc. It's a good reason to do because I said, at least for Aquavit, those are millions of tests. So it's a good application of automation as much as possible. Also the release, I will show something about the release work. It's a lot of work, so it's nice to have also ways to improve the processes for the community. Way of working. If you go to the GitHub, you will see both in the wiki and also in the adopting.net/adopting repo a definition of way of working. This is important because it's how the team is split and how all the GitHub plan is created, all the epics, like all the information is distributed and shared to the community. They have 6 pillars of work, which is not the same. These pillars are not the same as the program plan goals. So 3 of those pillars are related to Temurin release because it's a main project, it's the main reason, is why the working group exists, but it's divided by infrastructure work, the release work that is done 6 times per year with 4 quarterly releases plus 2 version releases, and all the pipeline health and everything. Then there is a lot of work around the supporting technologies, which are Aquavit and Secure Dev. And as I say, Secure Dev have their own repo, have their own plan, their own epics, etc. And then all the work I support the most is what they call adopting outreach, advocacy, and all the non-technical work that support whatever the working group is doing. 2025 project plan is under this URL, and you can look at them like what they're working for the next iteration, what is the plan for the quarter, what they have done for the last quarter, Q1, Q2, Q3, etc., and they're working on next year plan. We follow the rules of open source, which mean that everything is open and available for the community. So, as I say, secure supply is a very important part. So they have 3 pillars in this case. The first one is people. They need dedicated people to work on this, specialized people. And actually, all the past Google Summer of Code, Semester of Code with the university, and now we have a paid intern. Most of the part of the project are under the secure work. Is in collaboration with other enterprises, because at the end we're doing the same job, so why to invent something to scratch if you can share that with others, people that are already doing. It's very consumer-centric. As I say, we try to understand what the market needs and how they need that to be applied, what is the most important. For example, if they are running X certification, which one is the most important? In our case, like, because part of our distribution go to the United States, we need to follow NIST, and part of the distribution goes through Europe, we will need to follow whatever the CRA asks for next year, which we are already there because the first requirement is S1s, and they already have S1 processes. As I say, is to define what they need to do, all the guidelines, and define the standard and understand them, infrastructure as a code, and the CI/CD pipeline automation as much as possible. And technology is all the reproducible verification and SBOM. So we have already the check with CRA for next year. The deadline is September 2026. And they're still working. They have all this for primary, and they're working to get all of the bills, which is released. So this is the nice part, the juicy part, like where I spend all my time, like challenges as a program manager. I could have done like a simul between my motherhood challenge and, no, I'm kidding. So we need to convert users into contributors. So we always first welcome people to become a user, to migrate to your Java services to OpenJDK or choose us. And when executing other actions, also check that you are using an open source and really be aware of that you're using this Java version. If your enterprise or your corporate create those guidelines, like we are aware that you are using an open source. And then we invite you to become a member. Bring back to the community, because as I say, it's a free of charge, but it's not cost-free. So any support of any kind is more than welcome. So collaborate with the community, develop new skills. It will help you become an adopter, provide feedback, provide that, hey, I will need this, and really understand how they work. Because, for instance, we had for the past 2 releases, we have had a big important team change, and the releases are going slower than expected. And we have user asking, like, what are happening with the releases? So we need to explain, hey, this is an open source community. We're doing our best. We are in a team change. So we need to get back to onboard all the team, of the migration, etc. So it takes some time. If you really want to help on this team Temurin release, you can be part of the release. So contact the community to understand how they work. This is not only applicable for our project, it's also applicable for any open source projects, and grow. I know it's easy to say, but for those that are new to the ecosystem, that are still defining like your career path, on those are very experienced, grow as an open source contributor is a good badge to have in your career. So leverage that part, and it will help you to share your history, help others to get involved, and also make a positive impact. One thing we're looking for is to hear from users to understand 2 things. Why they migrated from a paid version to our distribution, or why they choose when they were creating the first starter project, why they choose Temurin over other OpenJDK distribution, and also how they're using us. And I will show you what we have, but we have different channels to share those histories. Levels of involvement, this is not only for our project, it's for all of projects, like become an observer. This is an easy way to support, is to follow social media, to follow the GitHub repo, to follow the mailing list, like follow the project and understand what they're doing. become a consumer, but an active one, as I say, give back and show that you are a really consumer and show where you are using the technology. We have split non-technical to technical, even so some of the technical parts, non-technical are kind of technical, but it's like core technical to those 5 pillars that were related to, in this case, to the release world, the infra world, Aquabit, and secure. Those are technical, and the non-technical contributions are more like we have a website with a lot of users, so that website has been revamped and redesigned since a year and a half ago, and we have the new version that was released mid-year. So that still needs a lot of work on how to improve the user experience, user flow, because we had an idea, we studied a lot how to do it, but once it's implemented, as every new website, you have missed some part of the implementation, you are getting user feedback, and so you need to work on that. The website implementations is completely done under community contribution, so you need to be clear. One thing I work in is to prioritize what we need to do, and to explain that to whoever tells me, hey, I want to help with the website, so welcome. Generate more content, as I said, your user story, your migration story, help with the documentation. As a user, it's very important to provide feedback like, hey, I really don't understand how to install this, so can I provide feedback on how to improve the documentation? A feedback we got is like, it's not clear how to become, even though they have a lot of information on how to get involved, it's not clear what is the contributor path and things like that. And then all the technical contribution is very specific to all the places I showed, like the agile and like all that information like could be part of the technical. Each of the technical teams has their own community calls. They are open. Secure Dev has their own community call. Aquabit has their own community call and channel. We have a Slack workspace, and then each of them has their channels, so you can follow their what's next, read the GitHub repo, and understand the priorities. So stay tuned as observer. I already explained that, but you can take a picture of this slide to understand how to join. We just had our Adoption Summit edition, which is a half-day online event, and the focus is both explaining how the community is working, how the project has been developed, and also try to get migration history, user histories, and we also had, this year we have a very nice session of new contributors from Africa who were explaining how being part of adoption helped with develop their career from Africa to the world, because now they're working with a global team around the world in different open source projects. You have everything in YouTube. Each of these sessions have their own playlist, and we even have like how-to sessions install a lot of things. As a consumer, again, to become a doctor, it's free of charge. I won't follow you, maybe yes, I will ask you a lot of questions. When in doubt, raise an issue like, hey, how is happening this? You can either do it through the GitHub repo, and we also have a Slack channel that is #support, and you can go there and make some questions. Some of your questions may be related to OpenJDK main distribution, but it still is a good place to ask, like, hey, I'm having this issue, I'm having this problem, I'm having this security issue, quality issue, call it whatever, of this installation issue, and they will point you to the right place to talk. The community is very open and really, really helpful. And so we're always trying to get user cases, migration histories. And our next Adoption Summit edition, we still don't have a date. As I say, we are in the planning process, but usually it's around the end of Q3, starting of Q4, after European summer break. We spend the summer planning. It's not a good time to do it, but we try to spend the summer planning the Adoption Summit. So it's a fresh start after summer to have our half-day edition. So how to start to contribute? As I said, the contribution path is something that we have in the list for 2026, but it's basically because we are under Eclipse Foundation, you need to also follow Eclipse Foundation processes, which is to upset Eclipse Foundation contribution agreement and processes, and then you need to follow like how to get involved and how to connect with the community. The community, I say they have a lot of experience with new contributors. They're very open and welcome. So they already have a kind of assigned non-official mentors. They're there to help. If you have any question like, hey, I really want to help with this issue, they're very open to explain you how to do things. Some of the projects do need some more bureaucracy, that if you ping, like, I really want to be part, we can say, okay, you're welcome, but it might take you like 3-4 months to start contributing, but that is still are very open to it. And that's part of my role. I need to work on growing community involvement. So if you're a new contributor, I need to do all the onboarding together with the community and through different programs, different process. And if you are a new member, it's also once all the safe management, legal part, designation, onboarding, all access to everything is done, we need to make sure that you're in the right place to start contributor, either as a technical contributor or as a member. Like, we need to make you feel that you're welcome to the community. Then we need to make sure as a contributor that you do your first contribution and you feel comfortable with the process, with working with different time zones, different languages, asynchronous, through Slack, using GitHub and all the environments, etc. Like, you feel like, okay, you understand like all the project, why the issue is important, why it's not important, like why you need to work a full week to get feedback, and when suddenly you need to finish, so it's a mentorship, etc. And then as a member, what usually happens is the first time you join all the committees, all the meetings, like to understand the process, you are more like an observer to understand how the ecosystem works, what are their needs, etc. And then you need, what we try to do is to convert of these contributors in active users, active members, and active committers of the project. It doesn't matter if it's technical or not technical, and give you more visibility and welcome you and thank you. And then as a member, I will also try to build that relationship to provide your feedback, to understand the value of you becoming a member. For instance, now that we're doing next year planning, we are asking everyone, do you understand what we're planning? Do you feel comfortable with the planning? Do you need more participation? What do you need to be at to the plan, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very important to get everyone's point of view to understand that if they're strategic members, they have a voice, so they can be heard. And if they're enterprise members, even though they have a representative, we are open also to hear from them. And as a participant, it's the same. We want to hear from end users. So another thing that I do to prepare of this messaging, of this speech, of the presentation, target a different audience, is to review what the community needs to do their core job. So as I say, they do 4 CPU releases every year with 58 builds, 5 Java versions, plus 2 new version releases. And now they have more than 750 million cumulative downloads. And you can imagine that, do you think that's a lot of work, that is easy to do, that's hard to do, like, oh no, everything is automated? No, that means a lot of work. They need to do a lot of testing. They automate testing as much as possible. They need to do a lot of release work. As I say, they have automated a lot of the processes, but especially for the old builds and old versions, it still is a lot of manual job. They need to have server capabilities to the different platforms, and this server capability is a kind of elastic. So the main peak of users is around the releases every quarter, but they need still to maintain the users the rest of the year. So that's something that also needs to be worked to, and a lot of team effort. And that's a thing we have saw since July. It's like some of the team effort have been migrated due to assets issues from the core release part to the secondary release part. And if you go through all our announcement and everything, the release has been taken, instead of 2 to 7 days, it has been taken up to 3 weeks to get all the platform ready. And that's an impact on not having enough people to contribute to the release core work. It's the same with the financial support. As I say, even so it's an open source project, that's the good part of be part of Eclipse Foundation, not only Eclipse Foundation, any foundation. It's like you have an structure. So as every business, you need to define what is your current budget allocation, And to understand in our case, I've been saying this, but again, it's infrastructure and management. And some part is a remaining part to event. And you need to dream big and decide, hey, what I want? I want 4 times this current budget. And if I have 4 times this current budget, I will have more money to enhance security, apply automation, faster releases, better quality testing, which is, they are really good, but to really, really, really reduce team efforts. Ready to deploy build for those special cases, particular edge cases, and more time to engage, because we really want to engage with the community, have more time for semester of code program, to bring new contributors, to spread the word about adoption, about the community, what they're doing, and also a remaining time to continue doing all the community development or program development. So how do we do the financial support, and how do we ask for help? Because it's not the same depending on who you are, how we ask for help. So if, as a financial support, we have seen that we have different profiles. So if you are a technical strategic user or a key player into the ecosystem, we really, really encourage you to become a member. And what we are calling knocking the door for membership is to all the OpenJDK distributors, which they already did when they funded the working group back in 2020, and reach out all those Aquabase users as Fujitsu or Canonical to join the working group. So they have joined I4 on the technological part on how to use Aquabit and how to improve that. And actually, that's one of the plans for next year, is to continue having a joint strategy regarding Aquabit, not only with the members, also with the upstream users of this technology. If you are a heavy user, but you don't understand about governance, and you don't want to be part of open source governance because you migrated back in the day in 2022 or 2021, when someone very big knocked your door and told you that you will need to pay licenses for every employee and not only for every Java user you have. So we have launched this Eclipse Temurin Sustainer program, which is a new sponsorship program where we have defined a different path for individuals, small companies, startups, and corporates. We have like, what are your financing, what you're supporting. We have a saving calculator there where you can see how much you're saving when you decided to use a free of charge option. And we also suggest like what would be the equivalent to maintain that users you are bringing, because when you migrated, you are bringing that users to us, and we need to maintain that. And what will be the equivalent to maintain your users with the ecosystem. And then we also knock the door to different companies around the tech world, because we need their help as service providers. And we are always working on getting new sponsors to support that, because if we will need to pay for all the infrastructure we use, our ideal budget of 4 times will be at least 8 times or more. So that's why we always try to find for an alliance on that path. So in conclusions, as a program manager, I have a lot of stakeholder management lesson learned. I need to map, based on this mapping, I need to map all the different stakeholders within the working group, Eclipse Foundation, the ecosystem, depending if they are OpenJDK distributors, main users, etc., etc. I need to learn their languages. It's not the same to talk to developers, to talk to small businesses, to talk to big corps, medium corps. So it depends on who you're talking, on what is the point of view, like you want to bring back the support to the community. It needs to be a different language, or even internally within the working group, you need to understand why they joined the working group and give back what they're asking for. Support their goals. As I say, we have shared goals, 4 of them, but then each member, they have the internal plan, internal decisions, so you need to understand those goals as well and support those goals. Keep a balance between strategy, openness, transparency, like what it can be shared, how do you share the information, how do you share the information to really make a decision, do you need to share the entire path, how you are proposing that new plan. For instance, when we're preparing the Eclipse Temurin Sustainer program that took us like a full year of implementation, we have a lot of internal discussion, benchmarking, like preparing the messaging, getting feedback from users, etc., etc. So we did a lot of work to get that implemented. And we also tested offline, like, hey, this is the new sponsorship program. What do you think? Manage timeline for processes. This is still an open source ecosystem, an open source community. It's not a startup, and it's not a corporate either. So you need to understand how everything works. Some of the initiatives might take you only weeks to implement because they're very interested in it and it's very urgent and important. Or some of the initiatives might take you a year and a half to be implemented. Even so, it's important, it's not urgent, and you need to understand that they don't have the community capability to implement that. And also, as I say, there are a lot of processes in the middle because we have millions of users, and you need to take into account those processes and understand their needs is individual and collectively as part of the ecosystem. So lessons learned. Patience, being a mother helped me with that. A lot of patience. You need a lot of, because I say the timelines and the decision-making process, you might think that, oh, this will go smooth when I present this to the community. It will be super easy to get their approval. You even work like background, hey, do you understand what I'm preparing? Can I get your feedback, etc.? But then you go public with the idea, and you get a half of the no's. So you need to go back and prepare to understand what is happening. Foster inclusivity for the project. As I said, you need to work on project sustainability, the technical sustainability. I think that is happening in a lot of communities and ecosystems. And you need to be transparent. Everything is open and available for the community. Communicate clear needs and expectations, like why are you doing this, what is the focus? That's why we have done a lot of research and understanding, like what is the community needs, what are the project needs, like what is the focus, the pillar, etc. Because you need to have that clear to understand which initiative is affecting which part of the needs and which part of the pillar, which part of the process. And share the message with everyone. That's part of my role, to continue share the message of the community. And that's part of all the main actors of the community. Thank you. I tried to be short, but I think Irene was being larger than expected, and thank you for your time. These are all the handles for the community, Eclipse Foundation, and mine. Do you have any question? No, it was super clear. You want to contribute, you want to become a doctor, you are an expert. No question? There is one. Can you share the microphone?
How is adoption related to Guardian? Is there any idea or is it planned to somehow also have native image and stuff like that in adoption, or you just say, okay, it's not what we want?
Related to what?
Graph.
Graph. It's a different distribution.
I know, but are you also planning on bringing part of it into Eclipse?
No, for now it's a different project and different distribution.
I got one question. You seem to do a lot of effort on releasing those OpenJDK versions. Why is it not the standard one in, for example, Ubuntu yet?
Ubuntu has its own distribution, and the standard distribution is the OpenJDK upstream. And Ubuntu is a distributor, so they have their own. That's why Canonical is part of the working group. And then it's also open to the users to decide what they want to use. So the standard is OpenJDK main upstream. And from there, like each of a different from other distributors is that Temurin is an exact replica of OpenJDK. We don't have any additional feature. And other distributions, depending on their ecosystem and whatever they want, they add different features. Any other? Yeah.
Early in your talk, you mentioned that you see lots of organizers still sticking to Java 8. Is there a particular reason for that?
And enterprise-heavy users, like finance, insurance, government. Actually, a lot of them, if you go to, I can go to, we have the dashboard is even, the download dashboard is even open. And if you go here,
Interesting.
yes, you will see in trends, like how many users we have by JDK. And if we go to them, oh, what is it? Now it's not show, but if I click on, okay. This is the thing with live. Here, you see how many we have still in JDK-A? We know it's not secure, so that's why we have the migration toolkit available, but it's because it's a very old inherent ecosystem, and it's very difficult for them to migrate. And that's why the community have created a migration toolkit, and thanks to all the security work that needs to be done, we are pushing really hard on communicating that please migrate to higher versions for your own safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's shocking how many
Yes.
downloads JDK still has.
Yes, 8 and 11, yes. Yes, it's very difficult, but the truth is, it's like a lot of big enterprise users are using us because they migrated from the paid, our lovely paid version, all known in the ecosystem, but they don't understand how, they do understand how open source is, work, but they don't understand that they should be part of the ecosystem. So they just migrated, and they say, okay, we're saving 10 million €, but it's...
We keep going just with Java 8, so we don't need to invest in upgrading any of our applications.
Yes. No, but not only because of that,
Do
because...
they even try? I mean,
But it's very hard because it's a really old ecosystem, like, yes. It shouldn't be like that, but they're very big companies, the process is very heavy. Maybe Java is not some, like, even so, Java is important for enterprise users. If you want to go to your career path through enterprise, you really need to know how to use Java, but it's kind of difficult, a strategic matter. Maybe the developer doesn't have the right voice to communicate, hi, we really need to migrate to a new version. Like, we really need to invest in that migration until someone, maybe next year with the CRA, they would realize, like, oh, we need to update this. How would we do that? So maybe, hopefully.
like the month before.
Yeah, exactly. Any other question?
I have currently my company we're facing the problem of duplication of the OpenJDK Docker images, and so I can use Adoptive as a just drop-in replacement, right?
Yes.
Any consequences? So
Yes.
like warranty stability of OpenJDK, right?
Yes. Yes, and if you need like any support on migration, etc., you can join the Slack in the support channel. Everything is documented, how to do everything. They have a lot of documentation if you go to the adoption.net.
I need some entities which are working, which are looking fine, just need the confirmation that it looks the same. So.
Yeah, it's the same. It's a replica of the OpenJDK. You have here everything. Like, it's not hashed, so you need to scroll down to find like what documentation you need, but you have everything like migration guide here, because we realized in 2021, early 2022, that we were having a lot of users migrating to us, so the community was really keen on updating all the documentation. And if you have any questions, you can join the Slack channel, they can help you to interpret how to do it. I think we are done. You're free to... is lunch break or not yet? No, it's another talk now. No?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.